Russia's aggression was considered a grave, if not existential, threat to European security. It also provoked the ire of the beleaguered Ukrainian people and those who supported them. In his December 22nd address to a joint session of the U.S. Congress, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke of how Iran's assistance had invigorated Russia's campaign and exacerbated the dire humanitarian situation in his country. When Russia cannot reach our cities by its artillery, it tries to destroy them with missile attacks. More than that, Russia found an ally in its genocidal policy, Iran. Iranian deadly drones, sent to Russia in hundreds, became a threat to our critical infrastructure. That is how one terrorist has found the other. The United Kingdom's Foreign Ministry issued a statement that condemned Iran's decision to supply drones and training to Russia, calling such behavior further evidence of the role Iran plays in undermining global security. The spokesperson for France's Foreign Ministry, Anne-Claire Legendre, noted that Iran's drones had been used in bombardments that were aimed at civilian targets, which likely constitute war crimes. A joint UK-French statement further labeled Iran's actions a contravention of its obligations under the 2015 nuclear deal. In the eyes of Western officials across Europe and North America, the threat of Iran was no longer limited to the Middle East, or expressed through terrorism abroad. The regime's military power, drones and missiles in particular, had become as worrisome as its nuclear program and support to militant proxies. That Iran was even able to become a party to the war in Ukraine was revealing of something else: the West's failure to contain Iran as a strategic threat. No country outside of North Korea had been subject to more scrutiny, sanctions, and political pressure by the United States and its allies than the Islamic Republic. Yet, despite decades of efforts to isolate and weaken the Iranian regime, its ambitions never ceased and its resolve never wavered. Instead, Iran looked for ways to do more with less, focusing its investments in areas that would best exploit its enemies' vulnerabilities while navigating the constraints imposed upon it by the West. Through the first quarter of the 21st century, by prioritizing the development of missiles and drones, expanding its proxy network, and distracting the West with its nuclear enrichment program, which served as a lightning rod that insulated its other activities, Iran's approach enabled it to make significant strides in military strength and regional influence. Beyond its persistence, a key to Iran's success has been its leaders' willingness to sacrifice the well-being of their people at home for the empowerment of the regime's aspirations abroad. When it came to the guns versus butter debate, Iran's leadership chose the former at nearly every turn. Iran's entry into the Russo-Ukrainian War was thus significant for several reasons. However, more than its singular involvement, Iran's support to Russia also marked a consequential step for Middle East powers and highlighted the region's evolving geopolitical orientation. Thinly veiled partisanship in the conflict set Iran apart, but its desire to oppose the Western consensus on Russia did not. All of the Middle East's leading states, including those considered allies and partners of Washington, hesitated to meaningfully hold Russia accountable or participate in the U.S.-led sanctions regime against it, preferring instead to walk the fine line of neutrality. Their refusal to join the pressure campaign against Moscow was as asymptomatic of America's decreasing influence as it was of their desire to exercise independence and move toward non-alignment in global affairs. That desire led regional powers to seek balance in their relations with the United States, China, and Russia, while also adopting more assertive policies closer to home, including through military involvement in third-party conflicts. The region had long been vital to geopolitics because of its location, oil, and wealth, but the potential for Middle East powers to impact extra-regional affairs through military means was also growing. Providing support to Russia was a culmination of Iran's growing power and confidence, both of which had been honed through decades of militarized policies aimed at overturning the Middle East's political order. The U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003 was a catalyst in that regard. Saddam Hussein's ouster eliminated Iran's main regional counterweight and made Iraq accessible to Iranian covert and overt influence campaigns. Iraqi expatriate militant groups, who had been living in Iran since the 1980s, returned to their homeland and became Tehran's conduits inside the country.